Reach high, aim high, and obtain.
Years ago, I came across a book by Dr. Berg titled Healthy Substitute Pleasure Foods, one of which was a recipe for sourdough bread. However, I wanted it to adapt to my needs for myself and my family and be a way of facilitating within my food, adding additional items that would help my body, one of which is milk thistle. So that's why I've titled this Gluten-Free Milk Thistle Sourdough Bread. I do have to thank Dr. Eric Berg for the initial base of the ingredients that comprises this recipe. However, I did tweak this own, and to help facilitate those that actually want a loaf of bread in the traditional sense so that you can get an actual slice of bread from a loaf. Although I'm showing you how the resulting bread looks and how it breaks easily here once you have your results, I wanted you to see what the resulting product would be before we got started to give you kind of an idea of what your end result's going to look like. So let's get started. I have 2.5 cups here of warm water. About 105 to 110 degrees is what you're looking for. Basically, I made sure it was above body temperature and I knew I was good. To that, we are going to add our 100% pure organic maple syrup. We actually bought this and it's glass. I love the fact it's glass. From Costco. And we're going to do 4 teaspoons of this into our warm water. 1, 2, 3, and 4 into our warm water, and then take your tool, you're going to stir this so you're making almost like a maple syrup warmed water. Okay, and you can see that the water changed colors just a little bit there. That's what we're looking for. Then to that, because we're doing our prep work to create our ultimate gluten-free milk thistle bread. Then to this, we're going to add some active dry yeast. And we're going to do 2 tablespoons of this. And what will happen is this will start creating our wet ingredients. Now, while our wet ingredients are coming together and we're waking up our active dry yeast, we're going to create our dry ingredients. While that's waking up, we're going to put that to the side. Now, over here, we are going to pull in our almond flour. And let me put this to the side so you can see what it looks like. And this is a TerraSoul Superfoods, is where it's from. And it's almond flour that's been blanched. It's organic, nutrient dense, and it's project non-GMO verified. And then there's also down here where it says, in addition to that, the non-GMO, it says USDA organic. And then on the back here, which is just full of fabulous information, it says whether you follow a keto or paleo diet, or you just want to up the nutrition of your favorite treats, almond flour is the perfect alternative to wheat flour. Almond flour is naturally higher in protein and fiber, so not only will you feel more satisfied, you'll feel fuller longer. Inside you'll find only the highest quality Spanish almonds that have been gently blanched and skinned, then carefully milled into a fine flour that is perfect for all of your baking needs. And then it talks about their mission at the bottom of it's to distribute the freshest, most nutrient-rich foods grown with integrity in healthy soils on sustainable organic farms. Working in close partnership with our suppliers enables us to offer the highest quality ingredients at a superior value. And then you can see it's just got the one ingredient. Okay, now, just so you also know, it says it here on the back, that the almonds are from Spain, is where it says. And I remember years ago, because we used to get our almonds actually from a company in New York called One Lucky Duck, because they were importing their almonds from Spain. I'm just getting out 2 cups here from the back. And they were truly raw because they were literally getting them from Spain, because a lot of the companies here in the US at that time were saying that their almonds were raw when they had done processing that actually prevented them from being considered truly raw. Per the raw food community, the fact that these are from Spain gets me really excited because I know that more than likely these are from those nuts. 2 cups of our almond flour. There we go. And then we're going to add 2 cups of our arrowroot flour. You can see it's quite a large bag because I always go organic and do my best to get the most nutritionally dense foods possible. And there is no refrigeration actually required of the arrowroot here. So we're going to grab 2 cups of this. And one reason I absolutely love arrowroot is because it really brings ingredients together and makes things thicken as well. And then to that, we're going to add some coconut flour. So let's get my 2/3 cup measuring cup and our coconut flour.
This as well.
Yes, I like their products. Most of the time, if I can find it in theirs, they tend to make everything very organic, non-GMO, compared to a lot of other products. So I tend to like their brand very much. Let's get our 2/3 of the cup. And let me get my leveler because it feels just a hair higher than it should be. Yeah, just a little bit. Okay, and let's add that. Okay, and then to that we also want to add just a little bit of salt. Now when it comes to cooking, I prefer the Himalayan salt. This is where I love this fact that my measuring spoons are double-sided, because then I can come in here with the other side that we use to do our maple syrup and get my 2 teaspoons of salt. And I tend to like to save my Celtic salt for my water or for flavoring my dish once it's on my plate, rather than as part of the cooking process, because my Celtic salt is a lot more expensive than my pink Himalayan. Okay, you're gonna whisk all this together, and you'll see, even though you've got color from the coconut flour and the almond flour, especially the almond flour, when we start stirring in the arrowroot, it's going to change colors and look more like a traditional white flour almost that people tend to use. I dislike white flour. I will tell you that off the bat. I just don't believe in, I very much an adamant against using white flour because I feel like it's very much without nutrition and health in it. I think it becomes better when people, ferment it to make like a sourdough, but I tend to avoid white flour very much in my life, just because I feel like it's lost all its nutrition. Okay, you can see here the color's kind of changing there, and that's okay, but we want to make sure this is all well stirred together, the salt with the flours, so that when we add our wet ingredients to this to make our ultimate bread, we're going to have really great results. that's well incorporated now. And you can see it change colors very much. It looks more of a white consistency than it does with the golden colors of the almond flour and the coconut. Okay, so now that that's all well incorporated together, let's put that to the side. And in the interim, I do have over here in just filtered water a cheesecloth, because we're going to use a wet cheesecloth. And I have found that if I squeeze, see it's still getting air bubbles out, that if I put it in a bowl or a container of water and squeeze it, it gets out all the air bubbles, so it makes sure that the cloth is fully saturated instead of it having dry patches, I have found over time. So I hope you find that helpful when it comes time for us to do proofing on our bread. Now you can see this is starting to wake up. We want that. While this is waking up, we're actually going to make some additional things. Okay, so first we're going to add 3 tablespoons of chia seed. Now, anyone that's unfamiliar with chia seeds, when they're in their whole state, they can and be added to liquids, and they become more of a hydrating medium. While with, that's 3, isn't it? I'm having to count and talk at the same time. But when they're in their dry state, they become more of a hydrating medium when you add it to things like water, for example. When you grind them up, they turn into more of a protein in the body. So that's what we're going to be doing. We put them in our container here because we're going to turn it more into a protein, because we're going to grind it all up. To that, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of Psyllium Husk. So I'm going to take this, again, it's Anthony's. And you can see it's vegan, organic, non-GMO, gluten-free. Now what Psyllium Husk does is that actually helps with creating a gel. And what that gel does is it can then go into the body, especially when you add liquid.
So
And
that's 2 tablespoons?
yes, 2 tablespoons. And then the Psyllium Husk goes in, and anyone then that has a type of constipation or any kind of digestive, things aren't moving like they should, if they add Psyllium Husk to it, it helps relieve that. Now to that, I'm going to add, right here is Milk Thistle, and this is organic Milk Thistle. And again, of course, non-GMO and all those fabulous things I bought years ago. And we're going to do, for me, I'm at the point where I can do 3 tablespoons of this. Now, if you are new to Milk Thistle, I would say you need to start at more like half a teaspoon, because it does cause detoxing to occur in the body, because it facilitates the liver. It very much helps the liver. If you've ever looked at any kind of products when it comes to saying, we're gonna help your liver with this product, it typically contains milk thistle in it. But because they're not cooking with it, they're putting it in a product. That means the amount you're getting is a lot smaller than what I'm getting here. And that's why I want to say you want to do slow and build yourself up with time. Because if you've never done a product that has milk thistle in it, or you're just starting to change your lifestyle to maybe facilitate being healthier, and everyone knows the liver facilitates your life. That's why I think it starts with LI, because the liver filters so much. It filters the toxins, and it has so much work that it constantly does with the toxicity of environments and just daily living, that it's good to give a little bit of a love. And so that's what I'm doing here, is I've built up that point where I can do the 3 tablespoons. But if you are starting out, I'd say start at half a teaspoon, see how your body does, and you can always increase it a little bit in increments until you get to the 3 tablespoons. But give yourself time to do it, because this is a lot if you're just starting out. So slow and time is what you want to give yourself if you're just starting out with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grind all this up, and I purposely put it with the chia seeds and the Psyllium Husk because I found it helps everything come together better when I do this. felt the pitch change. That's what I was looking for.
That's
And that's a Bamex. This is my Bamex. It's my immersion blender. And it actually comes with these wonderful attachments such as this that you can buy separately or as a unit. And it's just, I love this because it gives me like a mini food processor when I don't have a huge amount of items, but I need to finally grind them down, or I need to do something small. I'm not getting out my big Breville food processor to make it happen. And that's why I absolutely love this little container. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna tap this down so I don't have anything sticking up. And then over here, we're going to finish whisking this, and you can see how everything's just bubbling. You can see it definitely has become very active. And we're just gonna stir this really well. To this, we're going to add our powders, and we're going to give this a quick whisk. And you want to get this well incorporated, and we're purposely whisking everything together because I found it helps prevent clumps within the liquid that we're making here. That's actually going to turn into a gel when we give this a little bit of time. I love that. And this is actually going to be the magic potion part that makes our bread become bread. And without any eggs too. So anyone that has any kind of egg sensitivities, you don't have to worry about adding eggs to this recipe. Now, if you are a person that likes more of a golden crust, you can brush the top with an egg wash, but I don't tend to do it. I'm like, why would I waste my eggs on just brushing the top? So I don't do it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to let this sit for about 10 minutes. And then we'll come back, and when we come back, you will see that this will have swollen to almost over the top. And that's how you know everything's working its magic. And then we will add this, once the gel's created, to our dry ingredients for next steps. It's now been 10 minutes, and you can see the volume of the contents are higher than our 4-cup line, as you can see. And we're going to pour this, and you can see how gelatinous it's getting. That it was that jelly. Get it? I love it. There's just a little bit that's stuck in our measuring cup here, but that's okay. I love making this because it's so nutritious, it's filling, and I really, really, really love having it with eggs and a little bit of steak at the end of the day because it can be very filling and it's just delicious. Okay, now the other thing I'd suggest is dipping the hand in some water. It will make it less likely for things to stick. That's why it works to just take your hand into the water that the cheesecloth is going in to get your hands all wet. And then you'll see now that the air is going to leave what we've made here with the gel. That is okay. That's just part of the initial mixing process. So don't freak out if you see it suddenly deflate like it is. Okay. And then what we'll do is we'll get all the flour well incorporated into our gel. And what will happen then is we will put it into our proofing basket, cover it with our wet cheesecloth. You could use a towel. It's whatever works best for you. I find my double-sided cheesecloth works best that's hemmed. And then just let it sit for about an hour, and then we'll do next steps. But in the interim, we can get this well mixed. And feel free to move it around and flip it upside down to make sure you're getting everything well incorporated into it, because you'll find that the flour will go to the bottom because that's where it started with our gel. And by doing this, we'll get everything well incorporated. And I know it doesn't look really like a standard dough, but give it some time and it will start to bring everything together in a really great way. I just find this works better than trying to do it on a countertop where the flour can go pretty much everywhere. By having the rim of the bowl, it tends to keep the flour self-contained better and make less of a mess, but I still get great results. See that? You can see that the bottom now is fully incorporated and dry. See that? Isn't that beautiful? So now we have our loaf ready for next steps. I'm going to use this container because it's similar in size and shape to the bread pan that we're using, and I'm going to take just a little bit of arrowroot and just try and sprinkle it around, and then I'm going to tap it to try and get everything well coated. And then you can see there's some flour coming off of the corner, and that allows me to just tap this back in if I want to into the container, or I can use that to kind of spray the sides a little bit more to make sure it's got less sticking going on, whichever you prefer. And then we're going to take our wonderful loaf that we're creating, press it in here, get it to fit the size of the container here we got, because again, I checked, it matches the same size as our bread pan. Now over here, we're going to take our cheesecloth that we put in the water to get it well saturated, and we squeezed it while it was in the water to get out all the air bubbles, because if there was air in the cloth, that means it wasn't fully wet. And then we're going to take our, for me it's cheesecloth, but you can use anything that you would like, but this is actually double-sided cheesecloth, for those of you that are curious, and it's been hemmed. So do be aware of that particular factor. Let me see if I can show you this. It's wet now, so it might not work as well, but you can see it is hemmed, and it's actually 2 pieces of cheesecloth that's been hemmed together. And what we'll do, oh, here we go. There we go. I can show you there because they didn't hem that side. Okay. And we're going
3 sides, right?
Huh?
Hem 3 sides as
No,
opposed to
they
4?
hemmed 2 sides instead of all 4.
Oh, gotcha.
I don't know why, because the historical cheesecloths I used to buy from this brand, they would actually hem all 4 sides. So I don't know why all of a sudden now they only do the 2 sides. It's just strange to me and odd. Okay, and we will let this rise in a warm spot for an hour, and then we will do next steps. We've got our oven, and it's preheating right now to 425 degrees Fahrenheit. And then in it, we have my bread pan, and I already buttered it so that when we finish over here with the proofing and everything, we can put it into the warmed environment of our bread pan. And it's an unglazed bread pan, to be clear, top and bottom, for those of you that are unfamiliar with what that looks like. It has been an hour, and I wanted to show you how much it has risen. We made sure, of course, we had our moist cloth on top, and isn't that beautiful? I mean, look at how much it's risen, right? So now we're going to, we've already had our oven preheated to 425 degrees Fahrenheit. I put my bread container in. We're going to flip our bread into our container as best we can here because it is hot.
I don't want to compress it.
I know, but we need to roll it just a hair. Okay, press that down just a hair, and then we're going to put it in the oven for about 45 minutes. Setting the timer here. And there we go. And we will come. So timer has just finished. So we're going to turn everything off. And we're going to open this up. Isn't that beautiful? Flip that out. There we go. And now we have a beautiful piece of bread. Now, one thing I do have to say is let it cool here, okay? Don't be cutting it yet. I know, like myself, I love a good quality piece of fresh out of the oven bread. However, this bread is different. If you start cutting into it before it has fully cooled down, it will become gooey in the middle. That is the one difference between traditional bread and this bread. So let it cool down entirely before you start cutting it. It will be worth it. It will be delicious. It will feel like you have a piece of bread, people, without the negative impacts of standardized white flour or what have you, gluten bread. But it is delicious. Just let it sit, okay? Okay. So it's been a bit, and you can see it's not as hard as it was when it came out of the stove as it's cooling down. So it's a little bit more pliable now, but you can see here in the middle, see how pliable that is? That means it's got that air pocket stuff going on, which is similar to a sourdough, which we love. And I'm gonna cut the end here so you can see how this turned out. So you can see it is a bit pliable, which we want. You want bread that's soft and moist, but not too moist in the center. You can see here, very pliable. It tears easy like standard bread. Has a fabulous crunch on the outside. I love crunchy outside bread. And what we're gonna do is I'm actually gonna use this to help show you guys how I do some other rooterai or SIBO recipes with the bread involved, and it's absolutely delicious. And I had to get this bread made to show you so I could show you next steps with some of my yogurt recipes. But you can see this is just, I mean, perfect. I mean, isn't that gorgeous?
That's beautiful.
But the main important factor is you have to let it cool, and it'll come out just great.